Here's the latest on the GST bill. 5 months after the Parliament passed the historic constitutional amendment bill paving the way for one nation, one tax, it now seems the goods and services tax may not be rolled out on the 1st of April 2017. However, the FM has said that the government will try its best to stick to the timeline. The key development which could derail the GST rollout plan so far is the fact that the GST Council has failed to reach a decision on the dual control issue. In fact, the GST Council did not even discuss the contentious issue at the 7th meeting and plans to take it up when it meets on the 3rd and 4th of January next year.
Meanwhile, the Finance Minister said that barring the clauses related to dual control, the Council has reached a consensus on the rest of the structure of the compensation law. Speaking of compensation in Friday's meeting, some of the states also asked the centre what it intends to do in case their tax collection witnesses a sharp fall and the compensation figure surges past the centre's previous estimate of 55,000 crore rupees over a period of 5 years. So let's hear out what the Finance Minister had to say, as well as what the state FMs had to say on all these developments.
Our effort is to do it as quickly as possible, and I think we are making a reasonable headway. I don't want to hasten the process of discussion. I don't want to delay the process of implementation. Now, on the compensation law, it is clear that the states will be compensated to the extent of 100% of loss which is directly attributable to GST implementation for a period of 5 years. And therefore, we had already spent 2 or 3 days discussing the compensation package earlier. Now, in terms of what we had discussed earlier, to give it an implementation shape, the compensation law is to be approved only by the Central Parliament.
Today, atmosphere is completely changed. Almost all states, if not all states, feel that their revenues will drastically fall in Q3, drastically fall in Q4. So their average revenue for the year is going to be significantly lower. They will need compensation, which they felt earlier many of them would not need compensation.
Right.
So quantum of compensation is going to be much larger than 55,000 crores.
So what is the estimate, sir? Yeah.
Therefore, the question is, my own estimate is, it could easily go to 70,000-80,000 crores or more, depending on the Q4 results.
We had 2 meetings discussing on compensation, and a formula was arrived at, despite the objection from many states that it is not correct to levy a surcharge on GST. In fact, we had accused the Centre had kept the upper rate structure at 28% at a relatively low level to have a scope for a surcharge.
Let us not look at compensation as being funded entirely from the cess. I completely agree with Isaac in the sense that using cess as a model to finance compensation is not the best option. I've said this before also. It's not desirable, but that time, given the situation, we all agreed upon it. Now, to reopen those issues, I don't think is fair or ethical. But the only point that remains now is that the line would be there in terms of cess and other such revenues, so you can look at others, which it's not for Centre to decide, but for the GST Council to decide.
Yeah, I think there's no way we can catch the April 1 deadline. And in any case, Finance Minister has started talking about any date between April 1 and September 15th, 2017. So I see more of 1st of July as a likely possibility. The onus of responsibility for compensating the state governments rests with the central government, okay, which they're not denying. Constitutional amendment defines that. But the GST Council has to recommend the course of action in order to pay the compensation. Now, the compensation fund, the creation of the cess for the specific luxury goods and syntax and everything, all that is supposed to go into the compensation fund. Now, the question is if in case the compensation goes beyond 55,000 crores, which now seems a very live possibility.